Camera number 354 of 365 is the Minolta Dynax 8000i, also known as the Maxim, I believe, 8000i. It's a camera that is automatic, requires batteries, but has a lot of functions, and so let's go ahead and try and demystify. First of all, we place our battery in this grip, so I'll just go and get a coin to undo that. As you can see, it's a 2CR5 battery that goes into the grip, and then just simply, it's a strange, I don't quite know why they couldn't make it hinged. Maybe in previous cameras they did, but not this one. So you have to be careful you don't lose that. Unfortunately, the camera does suffer from the same deterioration of the handles, hence the reason why there's this sort of white mark, but it does kind of come up slightly. So with the batteries in, we now have hopefully a camera that is functioning, and we can find that out by turning the camera on. And there we go. Sure enough, we have our liquid crystal display showing that the camera's battery is okay, and we're in program mode. So let's just turn with the front first of all. So the camera has the Minolta A bayonet mount. We release our lens with the lens release here by the little red dot. So we're pressing it in and then rotating. I use this lens for taking the photographs that appear at the end of the video, the 35-80 f4/5.6. Quite a nice light lens, unlike the metal ones that I also have. So with the front, with the lens off, we can now see a little bit more here with exposure compensation button on the top. We have our flash modes, and I believe also we use it for when we're in manual mode for changing our aperture. I'll check that when we go through that. I believe that's correct. Our lens release, and then our button that toggles between autofocus and manual focus. We have a flash synchronization port here that has a cover, and then over the other side we just have our little assist lamp, and also I believe it does self-timer as well. Again, I'll check that as we go through. So just put the lens back on. We have our little toggle switch here, which allows us to choose quite a number of different menu and sub-menu options. And so then moving to the top, this is where, if you like, the business side of the camera. As I say, we are liquid crystal display. Through the viewfinder, you get aperture, shutter speed, and focus, a green light that lights up when focus has been achieved. So on the left-hand side, we have our function button, which allows us to go through various functions. So let's just go through them here. We first of all have to use it in conjunction with this toggle switch. So there we go. So we've got our first of all, we have our exposure options, which is multi-pattern and center weighted. Actually, that's center weighted. That's multi-pattern. We also have a separate spot button as well, which we can choose, and there we go, you can see that. So why they couldn't incorporate that, I don't know. I suppose maybe spot makes it much more immediate. If you're reading a very small area, maybe want to recompose the image, that's quite a useful button, that, actually, thinking about it. So that's the function button there, I believe. I don't think there are any other options there. Nope. Okay, and then we have mode dial. Press that and we go through the usual program. This is a shiftable program, so we can use our toggle switch here in the front, and we can select from a variety of exposure options. Pressing down, we can choose through aperture priority, manual, and shutter priority mode. And then if you press them both together, you can do multiple exposures. Only two though, only two exposures, I believe that's correct, because there is a separate card which we'll come on to in a minute. And then there's just about three options on the bottom here on the liquid crystal display, which are selected via this button, and then we have to use the function and toggle within that. So let's just go through that. So there's our exposure modes. We can toggle through that. There we go. And then if we move it again, we go through a single release, continuous release, and then press it again. Oops. Sorry, press that button again. And then we're now looking at our focus mode, which is a wide area or a smaller area. So maybe that's quite clear. Program, that's sort of factory default button. And then we have our card button. Minolta very much were pushing the idea of adding separate cards which come useful for basically setting up your camera for specific modes, and you put this little card in. In fact, this camera came with a number of cards in a little case, and there we go. Portrait, highlights and shadow, multi-spot, multiple exposures. So in fact we can take up to 9 with that. So the camera has the option of doing 2, but if you add the card, you can pop the card in, and then you select it with that bottom button, and then the camera is set up for multiple exposures, and you just select how many you want to do. So interesting idea. Modern DSLRs now come with that all sort of built in, don't they? And in fact also SLRs, the Dynax 5 and 4 all have all that sort of built in, so you can see the sort of progression. Self-timer, we can choose our own ISO even though the camera has DX coding, mid-roll rewind, and then our eject button for the card. To put our film in our camera, we just press the little button, and then there we go, you can see the DX coding. Okay, that's pretty much it really. So that's the Dynax 8000i, fully laden with features and add-ons. There is actually, I forgot, in the little door here, there is also provision for adding a remote control just here. Actually, it's here. I think I've shown that on a previous model. So there we go, Minolta Dynax 8000i, camera number 354 of 365.